Welcome to the Idaho Business Podcast, the only Idaho podcast focused on providing profits for Idaho people. If you love our state and love small business, you are in the right place. We interview local legends, learn business, and have way too much fun doing it. You're listening to the Idaho Business Podcast with your friend, host, and all-around great guy and owner of New Clean Commercial Cleaning, Spencer Ward.
All right, everyone, and welcome back to the Idaho Business Podcast. We're here with Jackson Wood. This guy is a brilliant financial planner. Not just a financial planner, but I would call him a crypto expert. He's here in Idaho, but he is nationally known throughout the crypto environment, the crypto population, the crypto. What do you call it, Jackson? You just know throughout the world within the crypto people. You know, it's just
you're too kind.
Right, you're writing articles. You're on podcasts. You're in Australia doing TV appearances. You're doing everything and you're huge on crypto. You're also doing normal, just helping people with the traditional stock market as well. But he's here today to talk to us. He's from Freedom Day Solutions, located here in Pocatello, Idaho, but servicing a broad base of people throughout the United States. But here to talk to us today and clear up some misguided confusion about cryptocurrency and what it can actually do to you, especially in this crazy market that we're experiencing today. So welcome, Jackson.
I appreciate it, man. You're too kind. It's one of the best intros I've ever had. So I like to refer to myself as kind of a nerd that likes markets, whether it's stock markets or crypto markets, but you took it one step further. So I appreciate all the kind words, man.
You're the man. As always, I've got to start off and say we are sponsored by Dale's Outdoor Advertising. These guys are phenomenal, from traditional to digital billboards, from Blackfoot to Pocatello. They're not anywhere outside of those areas right now, but they are on I-15 to get your name and brand recognition out there. And if you sign up for a 3-month deal with them, you'll get your installation for free or your first month for free. So call Rob today and he'll make that happen for you at Dell's Outdoor Advertising. So Jackson, let's get back to it. Today, like, you see gas prices going up every day, and not just going up, they're going up 10 cents, 20 cents, food prices, and people are starting to panic a little bit. And I'm not one of those conspiracy theorists, nor do I want to be labeled as one, but things are starting to get crazy out there. Yeah. What's your take on all this?
Yeah, so this is a really good question and a good topic, because this is one of the topics that hits at home regardless of your status, I would say, or your net worth. Everybody is impacted by inflation. Two things are happening that are causing this massive increase in inflation. The first thing is it's a supply side shock. So in 2020, for the first time ever, really, we put our entire economy to sleep. Like, we forced everybody to take a nap. So factories around the world shut down, transport shut down, freight shut down, everything shut down. And we shut down for 6 months, 9 months, and then we opened back up. And there was all of this pent up demand, but there wasn't manufacturing. There wasn't, factory workers. You see semiconductors, you see trucks, you see cars. Used cars are selling for more than new cars because they're the only things that are available. So we have one side of this where we had a massive supply side shock that caused all of this inflation. And the good news about the supply side shock is that eventually this kind of the supply comes back to life, right? And so eventually factories turn back on. However, simultaneously, along with the supply side shock and this nap that the politicians and the people in charge made us go through, they also created money. They also printed money. They also gave people money. Or for the first time ever, going back to 2008, when we we entered into a recession, they gave money to the banks. They bailed the banks out. But this time they gave money right into American citizens' bank accounts. And so you have these two things happening at the same time where there's hardly any supply because no one can go to work. And everybody is just flush with cash, right? I remember people telling me like, I just had $7,000 deposited into my bank account. You know, I want to go on a trip. I want to buy this. I want to remodel my bathroom. I want to do whatever I can. And at the same time, no one can work. Nobody can get tile or hardwood or lumber or shingles because the entire factories are shut down. And so right now in 2022, we're living through the consequences of that. Not to mention the world is at war again. Russian oil has been banned from being imported. We haven't put enough time into producing our own energy and producing our own oil. We have canned nuclear energy. We have just done all of these different things. And so inflation yesterday hit 7.9%, not including gas prices. So if you include things that are not in the CPI index, we're probably at 10%, 11, 12%, which is something that we haven't seen for 40 years. And so regardless, I mean, if you're ultra wealthy and you're rich, it's not impactful that much because you can afford to pay double the cost for your groceries and double the cost to fill your car up. But if you're middle class or you know, you're struggling to get by, and this is a big impact. This is a big, big problem.
That's crazy, man. What was the I was trying to think of it. Trying to find it, but what was this? I know they said there was a stat, or wasn't it like over the last 2 years, what was it? You could have probably tell me. I thought I had it right here. And maybe I'm wrong.
I'll tell you a weird stat while you're looking for that.
Yeah, please.
You know, so Biden gets elected, and I'm not political. I belong to the political party of making money. So when a certain party gets elected, you know that they're going to push for green movements and whatever, but the number one performing sector in the S&P since Biden got elected is oil and gas, right? And nobody could have seen that coming, right? So it's this freakonomics effect that, you know, they go out and they do these things where they try to, you know, incentivize green energy and solar and wind and whatever, but in reality, their policies are impacting everybody negatively because we're limiting the supply of fossil fuels and traditional energy production. And then the energy companies make a bunch of money. I mean, they're printing money, they're paying dividends, they're buying back their shares. And so it's just one of these weird kind of situations that we get in economically that nobody really saw coming.
That's crazy. That is crazy, man. Okay. I think this is the one I was saying. Well, shoot, I just lost it. I thought I wasn't there a stat saying like over the last or the space of the U.S. economy or something like that, all the money that's been printed in the last 2 years, 40% of that has been printed in the last 2 years.
Yep. So you look at the money supply, there's
or created, not even really printed, because they can just keystroke it now. Okay.
Exactly. Yeah. So understanding that is kind of understanding the definition of fiat currency. And I think this segues really nicely into cryptocurrencies and things like Bitcoin. But a lot of people, you know, think that the dollar is limited, or the number of dollars in circulation, the velocity of money and the creation of new money and the burning of money is in some way based on something. And in reality, it's not. So we were on the gold standard. So for every dollar that was in circulation up until 1971, I think, there had to be a ounce of gold backing, you know, the dollars. And I don't remember the exact ratio that it was, but what it created up to, you know, the 1970s was this idea that money was limited. The money supply was limited. And so you saw interest rates up, you saw, you know, things kind of function. But what happened was, there's a lot of reasons that we can go into why they took us off the gold standard, but they ended up taking us off the gold standard. And now the dollar isn't backed by anything. It's just controlled by the Federal Reserve and by the Treasury and by monetary and fiscal policy. And we're at the whim of kind of these decision makers that have been put in charge by elected officials of what they're going to do with the dollar, whether they inflate it, whether they deflate it, what they're going to do with interest rates. And there's a lot to be said for the impact that those decisions have on everyday normal Americans' lives, right? One of the biggest impacts that we're seeing now is home prices are absolutely outrageous,
Yeah.
Absolutely outrageous. Imagine you graduate college, you get a job, you're making 60 grand a year. You're better off now than you've ever been in your entire life. And you should be able to afford a house, right? A starter home now costs 400 grand in Idaho.
Yeah. It's insane.
2 years ago, it cost 200 grand.
Yeah.
And that's because interest rates are ultra low. And so with money being cheaper to borrow, it pushes the price. And so there's unintended consequences in every kind of area that you look at. And it's really making it tough to tie it back to just the normal everyday listener of the podcast. Like, it's making it tough to navigate this and figure out what you're going to do with your life, whether you're just out of college or just into the career of your, into earning money, or whether you're getting ready to retire. It's just the policies and decisions that the people in charge make are making life exponentially harder for people every day.
Yeah. You have to go put each dollar that you have to work. If they're not out there creating other dollars, then you can't get emotional about it. You can't, just because traditionally this is how it's worked traditionally. And that's how mommy and daddy and grandma and grandpa used to do it. That's traditionally how it's been done. And then if it's not making more and more dollars, and they're not making little baby dollars, hey, that's not working. We got to do something else, especially with inflation going up now.
Yeah, that's right. The paradigm shifts. So what worked 50 years ago perhaps may not work now. You used to be able to go, I remember not even 50 years ago, but when I had to do my personal finance merit badge for scouts, I went to the bank, I went to Chase Bank, whatever it was called back then, and I got a CD, and it was like at 6%.
Yep.
And nowadays, you get a CD and it pays you. I was talking to somebody from Idaho Central Credit Union yesterday, not to pick on them. I think they're great, but their high yield savings account is 0.4%. So you got 100 grand in the bank on January 1st. If you don't touch it and you got 100 grand on December 31st, a year later, that has lost, if you account for the interest rate and then inflation, you have lost $7,400 or $7,500 worth of purchasing power just because you decided to be prudent and not spend your own money. So that's a headwind, right? That didn't exist really ever before. Temporarily, I guess, in the 70s, but then you had, Chairman of the Federal Reserve, Volcker, that would hike interest rates overnight, just surprise people. And they just don't do that anymore. So it's a massive, massive tailwind, and it's driving people to alternative currencies. It's driving people to understand what's an inflation hedge and to try to do anything that they can to protect themselves against just the incineration of their purchasing power. And, I don't like to use words and make it seem like it's, worse than it is, but it's as bad as it's been in 40 years. So I think that's pretty bad.
Do you subscribe to the train of thought if, just money left in just an average run-of-the-mill savings account, give it 5 years, going to be worth half from interest rates and inflation and stuff?
If inflation continues at 8%, you can just kind of multiply that by 5 years and you get to the number that you want. I guess it's worse than half. If inflation goes back to where it was, maybe 2 or 3%, you're still losing a lot of money. So whether it gets better or not, you're still going to lose money. One of the things that I like to do is with banks, I just actually created a podcast on this for my YouTube channel, but the idea of bank yourself. So just do what the banks do with your money. And I think it's a good example of, what we can do as individuals to at least hedge ourselves against inflation. So if you understand the banking system, let's say you have 10 grand or 100 grand or whatever, and you deposit it into the bank doesn't have to keep all of that in the vault, right? They'll take that out and they'll go out and they'll buy tax-free municipal bonds. They'll buy treasuries. They'll buy stocks, dividend-paying stocks. They'll buy some growth stocks. And so all of those assets that they own historically outperform the rate of inflation. The best outperformance of inflation track record is stocks, right? You own stocks, you're almost guaranteed, can't say guaranteed, but you're almost guaranteed historically to outperform inflation. And that's what the bank does with your money. So they get all this big giant return on the money and they lend out some of it at 4, 5, 6%. They pay their staff, they buy back their shares, they issue dividends to their shareholders. And then what they give the people that make all this possible is 0.4%, 0.5% to their high yield. So if you're in this position of you've got money in the bank and you don't know what to do with it, just do what the bank does. I mean, they're probably going to hate this podcast and they're going to come after us, but you just do what they do and what they've done forever. And that's why they continue to make money. There's a saying in finance where the banks do really well when interest rates rise. Well, that's because they can hedge themselves. They can go out and they can use your money that you worked your tail off for to invest in things for themselves. And then they're not required to give that interest back to you. They just give you a little tiny piece. And I think that's kind of the key to understand how you protect yourself from these policy errors and what the government is doing. And, I'm not trying to come out as like an anti-government person or whatever,
Sure.
But it's just the situation we're in. How do we proactively protect ourselves from, I don't want to lose 8% of my money every year. Like I work too hard for that,
Yeah, no one does.
So I think that term of bank yourself is really, really powerful and something that I think can benefit everybody.
I like it. What do you say to the people that that are thinking, well, this cryptocurrency, this is phooey. This is phooey. I can't hold it. I can't hold a Bitcoin like I can a quarter or a 50-cent piece. And I know my opinion of it because I lived in Zimbabwe during the times of hyperinflation, and I could literally hold their largest note in my hand that would not buy a loaf of bread because inflation went up 1,000% the day before. Yeah. And I saw the shelves full the day before, and that next day they were completely empty. I saw that it was cheaper to literally use their money as toilet paper than to buy toilet paper with their money. So I think we need to break that train of thought with, oh, I can hold this in my hand, it's worth something. The Idaho Business Podcast is sponsored by New Clean Commercial Cleaning. This is my company, guys. I'm telling you, I'm not just because I'm the owner, the creator of it, but we are a great company for servicing your janitorial needs, your carpet cleaning needs, your stripping wax needs, all your floor maintenance needs. We are there for you. Everything is backed up by the "We're Not Perfect" guarantee. And if it's pretty much if you call and we don't get a hold, you don't get a hold of us, we will call you back within an hour and fix the problem within 24 hours, or the cleaning's on us. So that is our promise to you. And if you call or go into the Idaho Business Podcast website, click on the New Clean logo and book a janitorial solution huddle with us, and mention that you heard about us on the podcast, you'll get 2 free restroom floor cleanings for your office for free. Tile and grout in your restrooms will be sparkling clean. And that's the offer. Tell you, take us up on it. You won't regret it. There's no strings attached. So go see them today. See ya.
This is the end of part 1 of a 2-part episode. Tune in next time to hear part 2.
Congratulations on spending a couple of minutes getting a little bit smarter, having some fun, and supporting the Idaho business community. If you're feeling the love, make sure to subscribe, rate, and review on iTunes, Stitcher, or wherever you are.